What's up, everybody? Austin Lewis, owner of Bay Life Brokerage, here to do my periodic call to attention on the news regarding the health of our great state's great waterway, the Chesapeake Bay. If you've kept up with my videos and content up to date, you know that the Chesapeake Bay Foundation a few months ago released their Status of the Health of the Bay report, and it came in at a whopping D+. You'd also know that the juvenile rockfish population is down for the fourth straight year in a row, and that due to the recent decline in the blue crab population, there are going to be recreationally catch and possession limits put in place this year. For those that do love to go out and catch their own crabs, I myself included, it's funny enough that possession limit doesn't actually apply if you are crabbing from land or a pier, only if you are recreationally crabbing from a boat. And just a quick update on the wastewater treatment facility situation. The state has relinquished control back over to the city, but the county and the city, the Baltimore County and city delegates have put forth a bill that's going to have a 13-member task force, they're calling it, to basically explore how the city and county can both jointly own and operate these facilities, which is a great thing because right now it's all city owned and basically all county used, which means we are having to suffer for their mistakes. So we'll see where that task force takes us. I'll withhold judgment until some sort of decision comes out of that. Now, typically when I hop on here, it's because there was some sort of big piece of news that hopped onto my feed because I'm constantly tracking things that involve the health of the bay. And this week it comes from up north, the Conowingo Dam. Now, for those that aren't super geographically inclined, the Conowingo Dam is the dam that controls the access from the Susquehanna River into the Chesapeake Bay. It runs majority through the state of Pennsylvania. Now, in my own little State of the Bay report, I outlined the great issues that the bay is having with the phosphorus and nitrogen levels, how that is what's really contributing to the overall degradation of it. It's contributing to the toxic algae blooms we experience and then the fish and animal kills that go along with that. Now, although much of our own pollution here in Maryland at home gets most of the attention, whether that be the wastewater treatment plants at the facilities or just in your local waterways, spills happening by power plants and different types of industry, it is actually the Susquehanna River that's responsible for what's estimated to be about 44% of the toxic levels of these nutrients in our water. 60% of that amount of pollution that it's contributing to our water is from runoff, right? So your classic farming livestock situation where it's raining, there aren't adequate drainage systems in place, and a lot of those nutrients are being washed out of the farms, out of the livestock areas, and going into the waterways. It's actually a heightened effect in Pennsylvania because livestock actually outnumbers humans there, and anyone who's ever been up to Pennsylvania, unless you're in the Philly, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg area, it's real country. Most of these negative nutrient levels are coming from the manure from these animals, and Pennsylvania produces roughly over 30 million tons of that manure a year. Now, the wastewater treatment plants never seem to go away, and there are actually about 142 of them in Pennsylvania that are along the Susquehanna River that discharge into the Susquehanna River. And of course, you got to imagine that they're having very similar issues that we're having with ours, at least in and around the Baltimore City area. So Constellation Energy, which is a popular large Maryland-based energy company formerly Exelon, actually has had a 50-year lease on the Conowingo Dam, operating it for their own energy producing purposes. And that right to have that lease renewed was actually just vacated by the DC U.S. Court of Appeals. Now, many environmentalists and professionals are looking at this in one of two ways. One, it could be a great time for Maryland and Pennsylvania to demand the operator of the Conowingo Dam to produce more efforts in cleaning up, right? So to use more profit to clean up and maintain the overspillage, which happens a lot from the dam. And even though the dam does trap a lot of sediment that would be running through if there was no dam, it's still enough for the Chesapeake Bay to earn repeated poor grades and water quality and to be contributing to about 44% of the current degradation of the bay. So something that essentially they could hold the lease renewal hostage and force Constellation to basically come to the table with offering more money towards cleanup. Others say that it is actually a much better situation with Constellation in charge because Constellation has already dedicated a lot of resources towards cleaning up and have already dedicated a lot of resources towards maintaining just a 44% pollution rate. Meaning if some other energy company were in charge, there are fears that they would not dedicate as many resources or would care quite as much because they weren't maybe based in the area. Constellation currently has $700 million pledged towards cleanups, environmental programs, and projects all related to the Conowingo Dam or the estuaries that connect to it to better the water quality in the region. So some are looking at this possible non-renewal of their lease as us basically evicting a company that ran this, I guess, pretty well by other company standards and has pledged a great amount of resources to continue to make things better and improve the water quality in the region. And so I guess this is basically a stick with the devil you know type situation. So the final decision will be with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and they will basically give down the final approval or disapproval for the renewal of Constellation's license. So there's a lot of possible pollution or cleaning up pollution depending on kind of how you view this situation on the line here, and we will of course try to help track that for y'all. And I'll try to end it with some positive news. So oyster populations are apparently up and booming in the bay right now. Virginia's reporting a possible bushel haul over 300,000 for the first time since the 80s when the oyster population was basically decimated. And say what you will about old Uncle Joe Biden, but the U.S. EPA just granted Maryland $56 million towards the improvement of our water quality and water quality systems. So that could also go towards many, many areas that are faulting right now in the state. Hope everybody has a good week and enjoy Rockfish Trophy season. It's coming up.